Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the English podcast. I'm Kayla, and I'm here with Alex.
Hello, everyone.
Today, we're diving into a topic that many English learners find relatable. I can understand English, but I can't speak it. This is such a pervasive issue among English learners. You might be able to watch movies without subtitles, understand podcasts, and even read English novels. But when it's your turn to join a conversation, your mind freezes. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it's so frustrating, right? You feel like you should be able to express yourself because you understand so much. Yet, something just stops you.
Don't worry, you're not alone in this struggle. In this episode, we'll explore why this happens and share practical strategies to help you overcome this gap. Plus, we'll dive into how these issues connect to the process of building language fluency. Before we dive deeper, let's connect the dots between understanding and speaking English. First, let's break down why understanding English doesn't always translate into speaking ability. One key reason is the difference between passive and active skills.
Exactly. Understanding, like listening or reading, is a passive activity. Your brain is decoding information, but you're not required to produce anything. Speaking, on the other hand, is active. It demands real-time processing, recalling vocabulary, constructing sentences, and pronunciation.
And let's not forget the role of anxiety and fear. Many learners worry about making mistakes or being judged, so they stay silent. This avoidance creates a cycle that keeps them from practicing and improving.
Another major factor is perfectionism. Learners often feel they need to speak flawlessly, without pauses or errors. But even native speakers stumble over words and correct themselves during conversations. That's so important to emphasize. Mistakes are natural and don't negate your ability to communicate effectively. For example, imagine trying to describe a recipe but forgetting the word for whisk. Instead, you say, the tool you use to mix eggs. While it's not perfect, the message gets across, and you'll likely remember the correct word next time. In fact, making mistakes is an essential part of learning any skill.
Yeah, lack of speaking opportunities can contribute to this gap. You might absorb English passively through media, but if you don't actively practice speaking, it's like owning a car but never driving it.
I have a study case about it. Let me share a story about Maria, a software engineer. Maria could understand complex technical tutorials in English, but during team meetings, she'd freeze and avoid speaking. Maria realized her silence stemmed from a fear of sounding unprofessional, so she started with small steps, introducing herself and asking basic questions. Over time, her confidence grew, and now she actively participates in discussions. Another example is Ahmed, a university student. He excelled in writing academic essays but struggled to respond during class discussions. By practicing responses to common questions and joining peer study groups, Ahmed became more confident and engaged. These stories show that the gap between understanding and speaking can be bridged with deliberate practice and a willingness to step out of your comfort zone. This process not only enhances your speaking skills, but also builds resilience, as facing challenges in language learning strengthens your ability to adapt and grow. For instance, this might mean joining a public speaking club, volunteering to give a presentation at work, or simply starting a conversation with a stranger in English. These practical actions help you confront the fear and build real-world experience.
So, how can you begin improving your speaking skills? Here are some actionable steps. First, start thinking in English. Instead of translating your thoughts from your native language, try describing your surroundings or actions in English. This helps you get used to forming sentences on the go. Another great tip is to talk to yourself. Narrate your daily activities or describe what you're doing out loud. You could also describe scenes during a walk, such as saying, "The trees are swaying in the wind," or while shopping, by noting, "I'm putting apples into the cart." These additional contexts make the activity more dynamic and varied. For example, you can practice this while cooking by saying things like, "I'm chopping vegetables," or during your commute, narrating the surroundings such as, "The train is arriving at the station." This adds practical, everyday relevance to your practice.
Second, shadowing is another excellent technique. Listen to a sentence in English and immediately repeat it, mimicking the speaker's tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. You can do this with podcasts, movies, or even songs. And recording yourself is also incredibly helpful. When you listen back, you'll notice areas for improvement, like pronunciation or sentence flow. It's like giving yourself a private speaking coach.
Of course. Third, finding a speaking partner is key. Whether it's a language exchange buddy, a tutor, or a friend, practicing real conversations is irreplaceable. Or, you can also use AI-based tools or apps with speaking simulations. These platforms provide a safe space to practice without fear of judgment.
Now let's talk about the fear of mistakes. Kayla, what advice would you give to someone who feels nervous about speaking up?
I'd say embrace the learning process. Mistakes aren't failures, they're opportunities to grow. Every time you make a mistake, you learn something new and get closer to fluency.
That's so true. Plus, most people are understanding and won't judge you. In fact, joining supportive communities like language exchange groups or conversational meetups can provide an encouraging space to practice. Online platforms, such as dedicated forums or social media groups for learners, also offer a judgment-free environment to improve your speaking skills. In fact, they'll often admire your effort to speak in another language.
Focusing on the conversation rather than yourself can also help. When you're genuinely engaged in what the other person is saying, you're less likely to worry about how you sound.
Finally, celebrate your progress. Each risk you take, whether it's joining a group discussion or introducing yourself, is a victory worth acknowledging.
Let's talk about setting achievable goals. Start small. For instance, commit to saying one sentence in English each day.
Or take it a step further and order food in English at a restaurant. These small successes will boost your confidence over time. Remember, consistency is key. Even short, daily practice sessions, such as 10 to 15 minutes each day, can make a big difference. Setting aside this manageable amount of time helps you build a sustainable habit. Immersing yourself in English through TV shows, meetups, or online forums also accelerates progress. And don't forget, building confidence is a journey. Celebrate your small wins and keep challenging yourself to grow. For instance, successfully introducing yourself in a meeting, ordering food in English without hesitation, or even completing a short phone call can all be seen as meaningful achievements. These moments build confidence and motivate you to aim higher.
If you've ever felt stuck understanding English but not being able to speak, remember that it's a common hurdle and you're not alone. The key is to start small, practice consistently, and embrace mistakes as part of your learning journey. Thank you for joining us today on the English Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends.
And remember, your voice matters. Keep speaking, keep learning, and we'll see you next time. Happy learning.